The wood element. Spring. In traditional Chinese medicine, the wood element represents the spring. After a winter rest, the power of springtime surges through nature, through us. Would exemplify the energy of growth, change, and pushing through it. It is a very active energy that allows for a lot of movement and progress, both internally and externally. Green is the color of wood. The odor associated with it is rancid, and the sound is a shout, and the associated emotion is anger. The organs associated with the wood element are the liver and the gallbladder. The liver function is called the official of strategic planning, the grand architect for our vision of the future. If we have followed nature's way and taken a winter rest, we too emerge into spring ready to go, with clear vision and a sense of purpose. The wood element in SMTW is all about the inner child. Is how we can look and observe at this inner child from both sides, from anger and from compassion. If we think about the spider model, so the wood element represents number 5 of the spider model, the half empty, all the places of frustration, all the places of anger, places of stagnation, feel stuck, places that are asking to get regulated and balanced by the process of the wood element, which finally, if we take the actions of the wood element, we work through 2 actions, which is acknowledgement, thanks, or forgiveness, compassion. By forgiving, we create compassion. By acknowledging, we create compassion. By appreciation, we create compassion. So, if we think about the wood element in Show Me, Tao Way, we are basically, most of the time in this process, is to mold, shift, communicate, bridge all the places that this inner child needs to cooperate with the wisdom, with number 10, with the higher self. Dr. Hawkins created a map of consciousness, which basically what he did is to give some numbers. He measured the emotions that we have, and he split the emotion to 3 parts, if you can see. One part is the lower level of emotion, the survival mode. Basically, the upper part is the life mode, and the upper part is split to 2. You have the integrity and the reasonable side, and we have the spiritual side, the paradigms shift that we are working on. He explains that when we practice to be in love, unconditional love, which is 500, when we practice to be in 500, we can have an effect on 600 people that right now live in fear, which means live in survival mode. So I would like to talk and pay attention here on anger, on the emotion anger, because if you can see anger in the survival mode is a great way to see that anger has a lot of power, a lot of energy. It's not like the shame, the guilt, the apathy. It's actually more active, and it's quite high in the survival mode, which means that once you have anger and you know how to work with anger, very quickly it can create courage, it can create all kinds of breakthroughs, and that's what I would like to put the focus here, because we are talking about the wood element, and anger represents basically the emotion of the wood. Basically, the wood element is being nourished by the water element, and it nourishes the fire element. As you can see, the water element is the one that balances the fear, the layers of fear with wisdom, which means that when we know how to work with fear and work with our inner knowing of wisdom, we can teach the inner child very quickly how to regulate the anger and to work with anger, frustration, all kinds of like things that are not working out well for us, and we can create balance by acknowledging ourselves, encouraging ourselves, forgiving others, forgiving ourselves, and by that we are balancing the wood element with compassion. The tendency of the wood in nature is to be flexible, and it's actually talk about the metaphor of the bamboo, and it relates to the bamboo, which on one hand it can be very flexible, but on the other hand it's quite stiff, and the reason it's flexible, also in the Tao there is a chapter about that talks about the emptiness of the bamboo, that allows the bamboo to be flexible. So that's the metaphor of the wood when the wood element is balanced. When the wood element is out of balance, you will see in nature the aggressiveness of trees. Roots can be very aggressive. The movement, the way they grasp the earth, the way that they can uplift the house, the way that they can create knots and stagnation. In Shomita way, and also in Chinese medicine, metal restricts wood. As you already know, metal talks about boundaries, and wood talks about freedom, expression, movement, inner child, exploring, expansion. And this is the paradox between, nature, between our nature, that we have both sides. We have the side that we need the structure, and we need the boundaries, and we need the limitation, and we need the framework. But at the same time, we have this inner child that as long as we are playing the game of the survival mode, the win-lose, the forces, the struggle, the gaps between those two voices, the anger and frustration will get bigger and bigger instead of cooperating with both of them. So I can say that the boundaries will be most of the time represented by the number 10 of the spider, and the anger and frustration will get represented by number 5 in the spider, half full, half empty. The wood in nature restricts the earth element, the mother, the acceptance, which means when the child is out of control, the mother gets weak, which means that we need to play with balancing all the emotions. So the relationship between the mother and the child will be in a way that they will fertilize each other, nourishing each other, learn from each other, instead of the frustration and the anger that the child represents will control the earth element and will create more worry and less acceptance. And when we have less acceptance, we cannot live with our integrity, which is the metal element, which creates kind of like a triangle. If we don't have the integrity, we don't have the right, boundaries, and we don't know who we are, here is the game of the survival. Over boundaries will frustrate the child. Less boundaries will frustrate the child. And here is the balance. Here is the game of the wood, the earth element, and the metal. As you already know, it's all a game of balance.